Hi everyone, it's Monica, and welcome back to Tailor-Made Cards for You. Well, I'm here today to share with you my latest release from my passport kit, and this one is called My Mother's Garden. And this kit, like all my other kits, come in 4 8.5 by 11 sheets of some wonderful vintage-inspired graphics, as well as some designer cardstock. Now, in the past, I've shared with you how to put together these little mini passport journals, and so I made a few projects with this kit this time. I made this little journal that has the ribbon and it ties, and it's just a little notebook that you can easily fit in your purse or just to have around the house for little notes. And then I also made my signature passport cards, and this again is made with the kit. And what I love about this little design is that it's a really nice little gift. You can not only make the book, but then you can also make the card to go with the book, and it makes a nice little gift. And of course, my passport books and my passport cards have little tucks where you can stick all the nice little ephemera. So while I've showed you how to create these little books and these little passport cards in the past, I thought I would do something different with my kit this month. And this time I decided to create a little notebook using some of my paper. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I had one of those heavy steel dies from Sissics, and I think I picked it up at a garage sale several years ago, and I've had it in my stash, and quite honestly I haven't used it very often, so I decided to pull it out today and create a little notebook just to see how this little kit would go together. Now, the base of the little notebook is about 4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. So if you don't have a die that would work for this, you can easily just measure it out and cut some yourself. And then you can just punch the holes right in the top. Now, I'm creating the base out of this heavy chipboard, but honestly, you can easily just cut up a cereal box or just some of the packaging that you might get from your craft supplies to create your base, because remember, you are going to be covering this. So the pieces that I'm working with today is one of the 8.5 by 11 piece, and this is the one that has the four decorative images, and the images are going to measure about 4 1/4 by 5.5, I believe. So it's perfect for this little notebook. So I just simply cut them out, and then I adhered the designer cardstock to my base. And you're going to want to adhere your paper to the front and the back if you are going to use a die cut. If you're not going to use a die cut, you could probably just do one at a time. Remember, the die cut that I have punches the holes, so I didn't want to have to worry about lining up the paper exactly with the holes. So my thought was to go ahead and just adhere the designer paper to my base, front and back, and then I would run it through my Big Shot with my die. And that not only would help to secure the paper a little bit more because it would kind of push it down, but it would make sure that the holes were aligned perfectly with the cardstock. Now, I use 2 types of adhesives on this. Like I said, when I'm testing out my kit, I try different things just to see how it would work, and then I can go ahead and talk to you about it. So the adhesives that I worked with, of course, were my ATG gun, and that always works great. And then I used a little bit stronger adhesive as well. I want to make sure that when you are flipping your books or when you are creating your projects where it has some interaction involved, that your cardstock isn't going to come up. So you want to make sure you have a decent adhesive that's not going to curl up at the corners. So remember, if you are matting your paper before you actually size down your cover and your back, you want to make sure that you have enough adhesives on the sides, so that way when you do cut it down, you're not cutting off with the adhesives. Now, another way you can solve this is to use some of that spray adhesive, and I've used that before, but honestly it's a little bit of a mess because it goes all over the place. But if you do use a spray adhesive, then you'll make sure you get full coverage. Alright, so after I had both sides covered, like I said, I went ahead and I ran it through my Big Shot, and then I decided to round my corners. Now, I decided to add a little pocket on the inside flap of the back piece, and that's of course to house all of my little ephemera. And this was easily done by just measuring out a piece of cardstock which was about 2 inches tall by about 4 inches in width. And that's going to fit perfectly on the back of your journal. And then of course what I like to do is I just like to add some decorative washi tape as well. The washi tape obviously doesn't come in the kit, but you just find some nice washi tape that will coordinate well with your cardstock, and then just add it as an extra decorative piece. Now for your note paper, I decided to use some pink note paper because I thought it just coordinated really nicely. But you can use any type of your note paper inside for your little notebook. And I think I used probably about 25 pieces, but depending on the size of the ring, you can add lots of paper to this. So it really will make a really nice, cute little notebook that you can just kind of have hanging around, and it'll be decorated really nicely. I also decided to get a little ambitious, and I started adding washi tape to each of the pink pieces. But when you start adding, 25 and 30 pieces, that tends to get a little bit much. So I'll leave that up to you if you decide to go ahead and just add some washi tape to each of your papers. Now in the kit this month, I created a little pocket where you can add the little poem that also comes with the kit, or the little calendar. And that's what I decided to add on the top part of the notebook on the inside flap. And this is a sweet little poem from Alice Allen. And the poem was called My Mother's Garden. And that's where I actually got the inspiration for my kit. I sized down the poem perfectly to fit into this little pocket, but like I said, you can easily cut down some of the other ephemera to fit in the pocket. Really, your choices are endless as far as this little pocket. You can even add some tickets, little embellishments you may have in your stash. Sky's the limit. So because I decided to add the poem in my pocket, I went ahead and I sized down that May calendar, and I put it right on the top of the pocket. So that way, if you are using it as a little notebook, you can easily flip it open and it will give you a little calendar for the month of May. While this design was so easy to put together, it really gave me some ideas for some future designs. Now I think this die would be perfect to make some little calendars. So you can easily use some of the other kits that I've created to create seasonal calendars, and there's lots of fun ephemera also to help decorate the calendar. Okay, so once I had the notebook all put together, it was just a matter of adding all of my little pieces of ephemera. So as you can see, I kind of had them spread around my desk. I went ahead and pulled out my paper trimmer, and I started to cut down my pieces of ephemera to go in my back pocket. Now, you certainly don't have to put the ephemera inside the little notebook. You can use them for other cards or other decorative items for some of your other projects, but they just were really cute to fit in the little pocket, and it's a fun little conversation piece. Alright, so like I said at the beginning of the video, this is the second release in the month of April, and typically I only do one passport kit release a month, but because we have some holidays coming up, I wanted to make sure that I captured some of those. So we had the Passport to Spring release on April 1st, and then of course we're going to have this release, My Mother's Garden, on April the 15th. And I decided, since I did have two releases this month, if you hadn't picked up the Passport to Spring, I am going to go ahead and put that on sale in the shop. So this is a good opportunity for you to not only get one kit but two, and it will kind of cut down your cost, because I am, like I said, discounting the Passport to Spring. And I am also trying out a new line called Layers, and one of my design team members created a really beautiful rose card with some of the layers. So be sure to check that out as well, because while I only have one set in my layers collection, I'm hoping to create some more. Now be sure that you do hang around to the end of the video, because I have some really beautiful projects created from this kit from my design team that I also wanted to share with you. You can also see some of these designs over on my blog, and I'll leave links to those as well. So as always, I'll leave a list of all the products that I've used to create this little notebook, along with the links to the stores. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't checked out my new website yet, don't forget to check it out over at tailormadecardsforyou.com. There is a place that you can actually become a member on the top left-hand corner, and this is where I'm going to be able to offer you some of my free digital items, as well as my coupons and special releases. All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again next time.